In the realm of unsolved mysteries, there are those that simply puzzle us. And then there are those that fundamentally change our understanding of what's possible. The case we are about to explore falls firmly into that second category. This is a story of circumstantial evidence so bizarre, coincidences so unlikely, and mysteries so deep that even after 7 decades, it continues to baffle experts worldwide. Into the Unknown is proud to present the Somerton Man. Picture yourself walking along Somerton Beach in Adelaide, Australia. The date is December 1st, 1948. The morning sun is just beginning to warm the sand, and the gentle waves of the Gulf St. Vincent lap at the shore. It's the kind of peaceful morning that gives no hint of the mystery about to unfold. No indication that this ordinary Wednesday would launch one of the most sophisticated forensic investigations in Australian history. The first people to pass by thought nothing of him, a well-dressed man resting against the seawall, his legs extended and crossed at the ankles. In post-war Adelaide, a city still adjusting to peacetime life, it wasn't entirely unusual to see someone sleeping off a long night. Several early morning joggers noticed him moving slightly, his arm appearing to rise and fall as if bringing a cigarette to his lips. But as the hours passed and the Australian summer sun climbed higher in the sky, something seemed wrong. The man's position hadn't changed. His stillness had become unnatural. Finally, at 6:30 a.m., a curious passerby approached and made the discovery that would spawn decades of investigation, countless theories, and one of history's most enduring mysteries. The man wasn't sleeping. He was dead. When police arrived at the scene, they found themselves facing what appeared to be, at first glance, a relatively straightforward case. The deceased was a well-built man, approximately 5 feet 11 inches tall, estimated to be in his early to mid-40s. His features were striking, auburn hair graying at the temples, hazel eyes, and a peculiarly athletic build. He was dressed immaculately in a brown suit, with freshly polished shoes that seemed more suited to a business meeting than a beach visit. But this is where the ordinary aspects of the case ended, and the strangeness began to creep in. Detective Sergeant Lean, the lead investigator, immediately noticed several bizarre details. First, despite the quality of the man's clothing, he carried no wallet, no identification, and most peculiarly, no hat. Something almost unheard of for a well-dressed man in 1948. More unsettling still, every single label had been removed from his clothing. Not torn out hastily, but meticulously cut away, leaving no trace of manufacturer, size, or origin. The man's pockets yielded an equally mysterious collection of items: an unused train ticket from Adelaide to Henley Beach, a used bus ticket, an American-made aluminum comb, a half-empty pack of juicy fruit chewing gum, and a packet of Army Club cigarettes. But even these seemingly mundane items held their own peculiarities. The cigarette packet contained 7 cigarettes, but they weren't Army Club brand. They were Kensitas cigarettes, a different brand entirely. As the investigation progressed, the puzzling details continued to multiply. A thorough search of the area revealed no signs of struggle, no evidence of violence, and perhaps most significantly, no indication of how the man had arrived at the beach. It was as if he had materialized out of thin air. The autopsy, conducted by pathologist John Burton Cleland at the Royal Adelaide Hospital, only deepened the mystery. The man was in exceptional physical condition for his age, with highly developed leg muscles particularly notable in his calves, leading some to speculate he might have been a dancer or an athlete. His last meal had been a pastry, eaten just 3 or 4 hours before death. But it was the cause of death that would become one of the case's most baffling aspects. The autopsy revealed signs consistent with poisoning: an enlarged spleen, congestion in the liver, and unusual stomach inflammation. Yet no trace of any known poison could be detected. Whatever had ended this man's life had either metabolized completely or was beyond the detection capabilities of 1948 forensic science. 2 weeks into the investigation, a breakthrough seemed imminent. Staff at the Adelaide railway station discovered a brown suitcase that had been checked into the cloakroom on November 30th, the day before the body was found. The contents appeared to belong to our mystery man. The threading used to repair some of the clothes matched exactly with thread found in the suitcase. But like everything else in this case, the suitcase only added to the puzzle. Every label, every marking, every possible means of identification had been methodically removed. Then came the discovery that would transform this from a mere unidentified body case into something far more mysterious. In one of the man's pockets, detectives found a tightly rolled scrap of paper. On it, printed in an unusual typeset, were two words, Tamam Shud. These Persian words, meaning "it is ended" or "it is finished," were traced to a rare first edition of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. In what seemed like an impossible coincidence, the very book from which this paper had been torn was discovered, having been thrown into the back seat of a car parked in Glenelg just a week before the body was found. But the book itself held an even more baffling secret. Written in faint pencil on its back cover was a code, which should be appearing on your screen now. Talk about a tongue-twisting mouthful. This sequence of letters has been studied by military intelligence experts, cryptographers, and code breakers for decades. It has been run through computer analysis, compared to known military ciphers, and examined for every possible pattern. To this day, it remains unbroken. The book contained one more vital clue: a phone number. This led investigators to a young woman named Jessica Thompson, who lived remarkably close to where the body was found. When shown a plaster cast of the dead man's face, her reaction was so profound that investigators were convinced she recognized him. Yet she denied any knowledge of his identity, maintaining this stance until her death in 2007. Years later, her daughter would reveal that her mother could speak Russian, had a copy of the Rubaiyat, and had admitted to knowing the identity of the Somerton Man, but said it was a secret she would take to her grave. As the decades passed, the case has only grown more intriguing. The timing, 1948, at the dawn of the Cold War, has led many to speculate about possible espionage connections. The unbreakable code, the removed labels, the possible poison, and Jessica Thompson's apparent knowledge all seem to point to something beyond a simple, unexplained death. Recent developments have added new layers to the mystery. DNA testing conducted in 2021 has offered tantalizing new possibilities about the man's identity. Researchers have uncovered potential connections to Soviet spy networks operating in Australia during the post-war period. The style of code found in the book bears striking similarities to those used by Russian intelligence during World War II. But perhaps what makes the case of the Somerton Man so captivating is not just its mysterious elements, but what it reveals about human nature itself. In an age of universal surveillance, digital footprints, and DNA databases, the idea that someone could die completely anonymously, leaving behind only cryptic clues and unanswered questions, seems almost impossible. Was he a spy caught in a deadly game of international intrigue? A jilted lover who chose to die near the woman who rejected him? A victim of Cold War espionage? Or was it something else entirely? The evidence points in multiple directions. The methodically removed labels suggest someone who wanted to vanish. The unbreakable code hints at military or intelligence connections. The poison theory supports both espionage and suicide possibilities. Jessica Thompson's reaction and later revelations imply a deep personal connection. Today, more than 70 years after that summer morning in 1948, the Somerton Man continues to captivate minds worldwide. Despite advanced forensic techniques, decades of investigation, and countless hours of expert analysis, we're left with more questions than answers. Perhaps that's why this case continues to fascinate us. It represents that rarest of things in our modern world, a true mystery that remains unsolved, a puzzle that resists our best efforts to understand it. A reminder that sometimes the truth can be as elusive as the identity of a well-dressed man found on a peaceful beach one December morning. What do you think happened on Somerton Beach in 1948? What secrets did Jessica Thompson take to her grave? Will we ever know the true identity of the Somerton Man? Share your theories in the comments below. And if you're fascinated by unsolved mysteries like this one, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. We explore cases like this every week, diving deep into the evidence and examining the theories that might explain the unexplainable. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the most intriguing mysteries are the ones that remain unsolved.